Albert Breer now joining us live, senior NFL reporter, MMQB, MondayMorningQuarterback.com. Hey, by the way, Burrow, give me an update on the Burrow injury. And I kind of supported not having all the information out there because my takeaway is Brady wore a knee brace for 12 years. That wasn't on the injury report. Jalen Hurts has been hurt for a year and a half. Not all that stuff's disclosed. He practiced all week. He was effective early in the game. Like, I just know baked in. I don't get every bit of information. I mean, that's my takeaway on it. What's yours?
Like the people I've talked to this morning were just waiting and waiting to see how long a term thing this is. They may have answers at this moment, but as of my latest information, they were waiting for answers on it. And I think the hope is that maybe he just misses minimal time or a few weeks, and they're able to get him back by the end of the year. And Colin, they're sitting there at 5-5, and I think one of his best possessions of the entire season came right before this injury when he drove them down the field against a really good defense. I mean, you see where the potential for the Bengals is. And I really think this is a team where there were people in that building who thought that maybe Joe should sit down for a week or two with the calf earlier in the year. And he fought through it because that's who he is, right? It's sort of Brady-esque. Like, my availability is how I show my toughness to my team. This is another one of those where, do you manage it going forward? Do you sit him down? Is it more of a long-term thing? That's what they're waiting for answers on. And I think there are a lot of people in that building who feel like if you could manage it to a point where you can get in the playoffs and he's back at full strength, they'll be very, very dangerous come January, especially with the weakened state of the AFC.
Okay, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about here. I'm going to get to Michigan, Ohio State, because you're a Buckeye. You know the background and you've got stuff. I want to talk about Mac Jones. There was a story this week, and you and I have gone back and forth on this. I've been told certain things you've been told. I've been told that they have struggled as a staff the last 2 years, that he's not receptive sometimes to really intense coaching. And this is an old, grumpy staff, which can be... they hard coach. This is a lot of Matt Patricia's and Bill O'Brien's and Bill Belichick. This is not a soft, progressive staff. So it's not a great relationship. My guess is if they don't beat the Giants, and I thought it was weird, they moved off a corner and they're short at corners. They don't want to beat the Giants. They want a quarterback. That's my takeaway. Is they're moving off Mac. They want to get Mac. They want to get Drake May or get in the running for a Bo Nix. Where are they with Mac Jones, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, the guys who are in the building right now don't know who's going to be making those decisions next year. So I don't know that those guys would be invested in any sort of long-term plan for the franchise because they don't know who's going to be in charge next year. As for where they are on Mac Jones, I think the feeling I've gotten pretty consistently over the last 2 months is they were sold a smart, efficient game-managing quarterback, and they're getting a guy who makes a lot of mistakes out there, who doesn't do the smart thing that often. And there are examples from recent weeks. Against Washington, there was a play. He checked to Mike Gesicki. The seam route that Gesicki was running came wide open down the seam, might have been good for a touchdown. Instead, Mac tucks the ball and runs around the corner for 3 yards. And then against the Colts in Germany, there were 2 plays in particular. One was the first throw of the second half, or the first throw of the first half. The second was the last throw of the first half, where his feet were such a mess that they're concerned that now he has the yips. This is really tangled up right now. He's not making great decisions. He's not playing with great mechanics. He's not playing good football whatsoever. And so the problem the Patriots have right now is there's not another great answer on the roster between Bailey Zappi and Will Grier. So what do? If they do move away from him, it's sort of an anyone but Mac scenario, and feeling that what's best for the team is to move off of him because the locker room may have lost some faith in him. The coaching staff's lost some faith on him. And maybe he personally just needs to be shut down for a little bit, but not a lot of confidence in Mac Jones right now inside that building.
I got to ask you, I said this, when Russell Wilson left Seattle, went to Denver last year, everybody said he's washed. And my argument was, people, it's impossible. He's mid-30s, no major injuries. Nobody goes from 100 passer rating for 4 years to can't play the position. It's got to be Hackett. It doesn't. And after 2 games this year, I was like, okay, I'm wrong. And then I watch him the last 3 weeks, and I'm like, we got to give Sean Payton some credit here. That's a run game. Russell's numbers look very much like Seattle. Do you think it's changed in the building at all? Your sources that we can win here with Russell for a couple years. We got to fix other stuff. What is your take on that?
I mean, can they get him in a position where they can win games with him? That they do feel like they can do that. If they build it around the running game, if they get a guy who's more willing to run and make scramble plays, and I think we certainly saw that on Monday night. A lot of his biggest plays were scrambling and getting and moving up in the pocket and buying time and then flipping the ball to a running back to chew up 12 yards, And so I think, as far as just getting the Russell that, that was there at the end in Seattle, I think they're starting to get that. Now, the bigger question here isn't whether or not they can get him playing at a level where they can win games. They're showing they can do that right now. It's whether or not they want to build around him for the next 2, 3, 4 years. The way his contract sets up, Colin, the buyout, so to speak, which is, the guaranteed money going forward that you would have to pay out if you walk away from him after this year is almost identical to what it would be if you walk away from him next year.
Right.
So there's going to be a large sum of money, whether you walk away from him this year or next year. And so you're talking about, do we want to commit to him for another year, knowing that we're going to have to feel that pain after next year if we don't walk away from him now? It's a little complicated, I would say, financially because of that. And again, this isn't a question of whether or not Russell can play quarterback in the NFL. I think he's shown he can do that, and Sean Payton's got him to the level where he is able to do that. It's whether or not he's worth the contract.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the rubber might meet the road in a divorce between team and quarterback after the year.
So you've got lots of sources everywhere. So Michigan fired a coach today. Next week they play Ohio State. So the Big Ten, it's everything's negotiable. I said this earlier. They didn't want to get into a lawsuit with Michigan. They wanted to get rid of this thing fast. Harbaugh wanted it out. So it's a 3-game suspension. The Big Ten stuff's resolved. Yep. Already done one of it. They'll be fine against Maryland, my guess is. Not sure. Ohio State, you'd like your coach on the sideline. I would presume that's not great. But Michigan fired a coach today. So Michigan now has got two things. The university's in protection mode going forward with the NCAA. And they're in, we got to beat Maryland and Ohio State. So I said this last week, in my life watching college sports, basketball or football, controversy unravels an organization because the coach is so much a part of the fabric of college sports. Pro sports is about the athletes. College sports is about the coach. And if the coach is swimming in muck, the team unravels. With the firing of a coach this morning, do you believe Michigan's got real turmoil, or can they focus the next 2 weeks?
I mean, they've got such a veteran team and so many fifth-year seniors and fourth-year and third-year guys that have played a lot. I would think they could make it through this. And it seems like the focus there is, can we get to January 8th with everything still being afloat? And can we keep winning games in this environment? And can we keep the NCAA at bay until then? I mean, look, there are a lot of NFL people that think Jim Harbaugh is going to be eyeing the NFL again, as he has the last 2 years, and looking at jobs in the NFL. And there are a couple of jobs that, figure to be open. One's already open that he's got natural connections to in Chicago and Las Vegas. Now, in Chicago, would he go to work with Kevin Warren? He was at odds with Kevin Warren when he was the Big Ten commissioner a few years ago. You remember over the COVID thing. So could they make that work to bring him home to Chicago and maybe try to turn around Justin Fields the way he turned around Alex Smith in San Francisco? Vegas, Mark Davis has tried to hire him in the past. And, then you could look at other organizations like Carolina. If an owner like David Tepper is looking for credibility for his team and looking for credibility for his ownership group and looking for a guy who can turn around the quarterback, that could be Jim Harbaugh. So I think after, what Jim's done over the last 9 years at Michigan, and with the NCAA bearing down on him, I think there are a lot of people in the NFL who think he's going to throw his hands up and say, it's time. I need to go finish some unfinished business in the NFL. And I don't want to deal with everything that's going to come along with coaching in college football. Forget on NIL and all the different problems that you have in recruiting now. I mean, just the NCAA being after me. I want to go coach in the pros. And I think what he has to sell to a pro team right now, I really think there should be more interest than there has been already.
Yeah.
But he's got a very distinctive style that he has brought to Stanford, to San Francisco, to Michigan. It's traveled with him everywhere he's gone. And he's gotten good quarterback play everywhere he's gone. I think that there would be some NFL teams that would be interested. And I think at the end of all of this, Jim would probably have an interest in going back to the league.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.